2025 feels like an arms race for the most powerful electric mountain bike on the market. But maybe it's time for us to find a little bit more zen out in our rides. And possibly Propain have done that with the Sresh SL. Legend riders, welcome back to Sans Bikes, where you know we only talk e-bikes. And today it is my Propain Sresh SL review. And riders, if you're thinking about getting the Sresh SL or any other SL, you need to watch this review. There's a lot to talk about. Brand new bike, brand new motor. And riders, if you want to jump forward to any part, there are timestamps in the timeline. And before we crack on with the review, a massive shout out to Schwalbe, the long-term sponsor at Sans Bikes. Without Schwalbe, Sans Bikes does not exist, full stop. And you'll see on my Sresh SL the amazing Schwalbe Magic Mary in the gravity casing, the radial construction, and ultra soft front and back because it's super dry and loose out in the mountains. And riders, if you haven't tried the new radial construction, I highly recommend the Magic Marys in the gravity, in the radial. Unbelievable traction over the old Magic Marys. I reckon I'm getting around 10 or 15% more traction. So highly recommend them, and a massive shout out to Schwalbe being the long-term sponsor at Sans Bikes. Now let's check out the Propain Sresh SL. So it's rolling on 29ers, or it is Mullet compatible. And that is fully customizable on the Propain's website. We've got 160 travel up front, 150 in the rear. We've got the brand new TQ HPR60 motor with 60 newtons of torque and 350 watts of peak power. We have a quick release modular battery system. So you can select a 360 watt hour or a 580, and you can also get a 160 watt hour range extender, making the total capacity 740 watt hours. Available in 4 sizes, weight coming in from 18.2 kilos and prices starting from 5,994 euros. So the test bike you see in front of me here is a large. It's rolling on 29ers. We've got aluminium wheels, we've got gravity tires, we've got Enduro style suspension with the Zebs and the Vivid here. We've got carbon bars, and the price point for this build is just over 8,000 euros. And the confirmed weight of this exact build, 21.4 kilos. And riders, I know what you're thinking. It's not the lightest e-bike out there, but we're gonna get to that in a minute. Now onto geometry in a large, which I've been testing. We've got reach of 480 mils, stack height 632, head tube angle 64.5 degrees, seat tube angle 78 degrees, bottom bracket 350 mil, chainstay in the 29er 453, and as a mullet 450. Now onto arrival, appearance and integration. And as you riders would know, Propain is a direct-to-consumer company, so online only. And the Sresh SL arrived in a box, and I really like how Propain do this. They have a box inside a box, so you actually just pull the sleeve off, and it takes you about half an hour to set it up, and an average mechanic like me easily can do it, so you riders can do it as well. And appearance, I think the Sresh SL is one of the most beautiful bikes I've seen, full stop. And on the website it looks amazing, but in real life it looks even better. We've got the raw carbon here. It just looks so beautiful. I love the lines here. I actually love the look of the Pro 10 suspension. The overall package is beautiful, and the integration, the TQ system is so minimalistic. You can barely tell this is an e-bike. I love the display, super minimalistic, high definition color. I love the remote and the size of the motor. It really is sensational, and it is hard to tell this is an e-bike. Now onto why you're all here. How does the Sresh SL ride out in the mountains? Well, I've had a fantastic couple of weeks, and the shakedown ride, brilliant. I got this set up in half an hour. The only thing I changed was I changed from a 50 mil to a 35. Just felt I was over the front a little bit. Now, trail riding, so super stable with the longest chainstay, and I did ride it as a 29er for the first week of testing. Went to a mullet, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So stable, planted, really confident, inspiring, and I got up to speed. I think in the first shakedown ride, I was almost riding at 100%. And, you know, 160, 150, is it a trail duro? Would you be taking this to enduro trails? Well, a lot of the trails in the Sierra where I live are more enduro than trail. And I felt really confident on this bike to push hard, especially with the enduro style suspension. We've got Zebs, we've got the Vivid here. It definitely felt at home on those types of trails. Now, how hard can you push the Sresh SL? And would you take it to a bike park? Well, I did. And riders, first of all, it's a Cat 4, so it's not exactly designed for that, but I had a fantastic day chasing down my mates on downhill bikes. Now, what I found is, you know, you're riding a trail bike, 160, 150. You do find your limit much sooner than you would on an Enduro or a downhill bike, but you definitely can do it. You got to slow it down a little bit. For me, I did a couple of big drops and I thought I was going to get slammed, but the Propain with the Vivid Air actually held up very well, and I didn't have a harsh bottom out. I definitely bottomed out, but it wasn't super harsh. And I did a couple of jumps there, pretty big jumps. And as you would think, 29ers, trail bike, it jumps very well. You don't have a lot of suspension, so you don't have to really preload that bike to get it to pop. And again, paired with the Vivid, I really enjoyed the Vivid. It was kind of made it more poppy and a nice longish wheelbase for the reception, so very balanced for the landing. Now, I'm sure you legend riders are wondering, is it better as a straight 29er or a mullet? And of course, I tested both setups. So I did the first week of testing as a straight 29er as the bike came. And as I said, I found it very planted, very stable, and very easy to ride at speed. Then when I changed it to the mullet, which was very easy to do, you have one flip chip here. It took me about 5 minutes to change it over because I do obviously have a spare 27.5 wheel. It didn't seem to change that much of the stability of the bike because we're only shortening the change day by a little bit. But just in those harder sort of switchbacks, it was easier to muscle around. Which one did I prefer? This might surprise you, riders. I think the Sresh SL is better as a straight 29er. It just was a very balanced bike to ride as the 29er, and also it climbed better. Now onto suspension. The Sresh SL is using the Propain suspension platform from Propain. Pair that with the Vivid Air. I'm a massive fan of this system and platform. So for me, sits up in its travel. In the mid-stroke, it's very good through the chunder and chatter. And the rear wheel tracks so well. You got traction for days. You're just really balanced and stable. One thing I'm gonna say is when you are getting that square edge hit, so when you're really moving and you get the aggressive square edge hit, it does push you up, not forward, which does throw you off a little bit when you're getting used to the bike. But once you know what it's gonna do, you just loosen legs a little bit and push forward when you get that square edge hit, and it's completely fine. And on to how does the Sresh climb and how is the TQ HPR60 motor. And we'll go back to the start of the video when I was talking about Zen. This system and this bike is so relaxing to ride out the mountains. You cannot hear the motor. The bike puts you in a perfect climbing position, and it is really relaxing just to go for a ride. It does remind me so much of riding an analog bike so many years ago. So let's go through the system and all the characteristics of the motor. So we've got the TQ HPR60 motor with 60 Newtons of torque, 350 watts of peak power, available with a 360 or a 580, and you can get a range extender. The motor weight is coming in at 1.9 kilos and the overall system weight, 3.5 kilos. So it is an incredibly beautiful, minimalistic system. But how does it feel out in the mountains? Well, I've been really impressed, and I'm dubbing it the silent assassin. You cannot hear this motor out in the trails, which I absolutely love. And also the 60 Newtons of torque and the 350 watts of peak power. For my style of riding, it is enough. But if you're trying to compare it to a full powered e-bike, you'll probably be a little bit underwhelmed. But this is definitely a different style, and TQ are looking at it in a different way. So it's silent, the pedal stroke is incredibly natural. It really feels like you're riding an analog bike. And for me, it feels around 50 or 60 RPM of cadence is where you're getting the peak power, which I think is really good because some of the other e-bike motors out there are getting their peak power at higher cadences. So for me, when I'm riding it, I really like that it's got a lower cadence draw, and also in return, so you can slow that cadence right down and get amazing traction on the rear wheel for steep techie climbs. Now onto noise, and as I said, this motor is silent. I cannot hear it out in the trails, going up or down. The motor has no rattle, but let's go out and do a sound test so you can hear for yourself. Okay, so the noise cancellation software is turned off. The motor is off at the moment. So let's go into Assistant 1. Now Assistant 2. and now assistant 3. And riders, I think you'd probably agree with me, from the sound of the tires on the ground, you really cannot hear the motor. But anyway, let me know in the comments what you think of the noise of the TQ motor. And another standout for me is when you're riding the bike above the limiter, so above 25 Ks in Europe, you cannot feel any drag whatsoever. And overrun, well, it seems like the TQ motor doesn't have any overrun, or maybe just a little bit, and that is not tunable via the app. And the display, it's a beautiful display, high definition, color, easy to read in direct sunlight. And finally, onto the remote, it's a nice tactile feel, good size, good ergonomics. Now onto battery options. So the Sresh SL is available with a 360 watt hour coming in at 1.8 kilos, or the 580, which I've been testing, coming in at 2.6 kilos. And the battery is quick removable by dropping the motor cover here, releasing one bolt and sliding the battery out. It literally takes like 1 or 2 minutes. Very easy to do and great if you want to jump on a plane or go to the bike park or something like that. Now riders, if I was you, I highly recommend getting the 560 watt hour battery. I've been very impressed with the range, and it's only an 860 gram weight penalty over the 360 watt hour. And if that's not enough range, you can get the 160 watt hour range extender coming in at 960 grams. So there you go riders, that's the review part done of the TQ motor and system. And it's fair to say I'm a massive fan of this motor, and it's one of, if not the best, SL motors I've tested on the market to date. And riders, I want to talk about a question that I get asked a lot on the channel, and that is, where do I think the superlight / mid-power motors fit in the market? Well, I see it like this. So we have downhill bikes, we have enduro bikes, we have trail bikes, we have backcountry bikes, we have cross-country bikes, and then we have full-powered e-bikes and mid-powered / SL e-bikes. Now, I think there's enough room in the market for all these categories, but after riding this bike and how natural it is, the question I ask is, where's the room in the market for the enduro / trail bikes, the analog bikes? Because I feel this bike is better in every way. More planted, you're getting twice as many rides in the mountains. Obviously, the only drawback would be the price. Now, onto the elephant in the room, the weight of the Sresh SL, coming in at 21.4 kilos. But let's have a look at this build. We've got enduro style suspension with the Zebs and the Vivid Air. And we've got 29ers front and back, aluminium. We've got the Schwalbe Gravity tires, ultra soft front and back. We've got aluminium cranks, carbon bars, and a 560 watt hour battery. Yes, you could put this bike on a diet. You could put carbon wheels, actually carbon everything, 36s, Float X, and a 360 watt hour battery. And you could definitely get it in around 18 to 19 kilos. But I don't think you'd benefit. This bike is so good out in the trails. It's definitely a trail duro, and I put it down to the burly build. And I always say, don't put your bike on a diet. You know, let's have a look at the golden boy, Jackson Goldson, who's coming in around 70 kilos, and he's putting 1.8 kilos of lead on his bottom bracket, on his V10, and his bike's coming in at 19.4 kilos. And that guy definitely knows what he's doing. And if I was building a Sresh SL on the bike builder on Propain's website, I wouldn't change a thing. I think this is a very clever, very hard hitting build. Now onto sizing. I'm 183 centimeters and I've been riding the large. On the shakedown ride, I changed the stem from a 50 to a 35 because I felt I was over the front a little bit and just felt a little bit big. Now, I wouldn't be sizing up or down. This is the perfect fit for me. And if you're right in between sizes, I always say this. If you're an experienced mountain biker, possibly size down. The bike will be more playful and more agile. And if you're not an experienced mountain biker, so new to mountain biking, possibly size up because the bike will be more stable. Now onto prices and models. So Propain are offering the Sresh SL in 5 models, starting from 5,994 euros up to 10,500. But riders, if you're thinking about getting the Sresh SL or any other Propain bike, you have to check out the bike builder. It is so much fun and very unique to Propain. So you can select every part, the color, the componentry, the suspension, the brakes, absolutely every part. And I think the brand manager that put together this press bike has spent the money in the right places. Great suspension, top tier, great brakes, aluminium wheels, carbon bars for just over 8,000 euros, which I think represents very good value. And that's probably how I would build it. The only thing I might change is Propain offer a trick stuff brake upgrade, which is the only company in the world that I think that does that upgrade from factory, and I'd love to try those brakes. And now onto not all gravy, the things I'd like to see improved on the Sresh SL. First up, the water bottle holder, which is a TQ water bottle holder designed for the range extender. It's actually a little bit loose for my water bottle, and it makes a bit of rattling sound, so I ended up using a backpack with a bladder in it. And then on to the overrun. The TQ motor doesn't have any overrun whatsoever. You can't tune that by the app either. I would love to see TQ add a little bit of overrun for the techie climbs. And the walk mode, don't think it has enough power and would like the button in a different position because it's difficult to hold your thumb on top of the bars while you're pushing your bike up the hill. So that's it for the not all gravy for the TQ. What about the Sresh SL? Well, it's a convertible, as you know, so you can run it as a 29er or a mullet, and the chainstays are 453 in a 29er or 450 in a mullet. So it's only changing it 3 mil. I would have loved to have seen that flip chip change it more like 5 to 10 mil. There is enough room here, and it would definitely make the mullet feel more playful and the 29er more stable. I didn't feel a massive difference. There was a difference, but not a massive difference changing it from a mullet to a 29er. Now onto who is the Sresh SL for? Well, I see it perfect for the rider out there that wants a beautiful minimalistic e-bike that you can't hear out in the mountains, and it gives you that analog feel. It really does feel like you're riding an analog bike. I also see it perfect for the rider that is riding in an analog group and can't quite keep up. This will just give me a little bit of help out in the mountains. And I also see it perfect for someone thinking about buying a new bike that's looking at an analog bike. They should definitely look at this because, as I said many times, it does give you that natural feeling of an analog bike. And who's it not for? Well, it's not for someone that wants to go riding on a regular basis with a full-powered e-bike group. The dynamic is just going to be wrong with that group of riders. And riders, I hope you're still with me. I know this has been a long review. There's been a lot to talk about. But on to the conclusion of the Sresh SL. Well, I've had an absolute fantastic time over the last couple of weeks. It is a very unique feeling bike. With the motor, it definitely, as I said many times, it does feel like you're riding an analog bike. It gives you that zen back in the mountains, which I didn't think I really missed until I rode this bike. It really reminds me of back in the day before I started the channel, just going out on my weekly rides. And riders, like always, if you have any questions about the Sresh SL or any other e-bike, put them in the comments and I'll definitely get back to you. And riders, you know it, stay safe out there. We're going to see you soon.